topic is very interesting one. Why the Buddha wanted to introduce another religion. Do you know how many religions were there in India at that time? It is mentioned there were 62 religious cult and creed and various religious denominations. So in spite of all these religious beliefs and practices, the Buddha wanted to introduce another religion. Actually, it is not religion. Today we are using the word religion for that. He did not introduce a religion. When you define the interpretation or the meaning of this word, religion, then you can understand why Buddhism is not a religion. What is the definition given in the dictionary? This is a Latin word, religio. The original meaning is binding. Religio means binding. When they have accommodated this word into English language as religion, they have given more definitions. Belief in God, worshipping and praying to God, binding to God. They have adopted that word also, original word, binding to God. That method is called religion. So just now I mentioned Buddhism is not a religion in that sense. Of course, Buddha did not use the word religion because he did not speak English at that time. What is the word used by the Buddha in place of religion? Can you remember? Dharma. He preached the Dhamma, not religion. Then what is the definitions of Dharma? Dhamma or Dharma? Dharma means universal law explained by the Buddha, which support us, uphold, without allowing us to get into the unfortunate state of existence, such as hell, animals, a spirit, ghost, devils, or unfortunate living beings. Dharma means the method taught by the Buddha to hold us without allowing us to get into the unfortunate state of existence. Now you can see the difference between the Dharma taught by the Buddha and the word religion. So why did he want to introduce another system as Dharma? Dharma is not created by the Buddha. Dharma is not created by God. There is nobody in this universe who can create Dharma. Dharma is the universal law that will exist forever. The Buddha has mentioned this earlier. Dharma exists whether the Buddhas appear or not. But people cannot understand the Dharma. So the Buddha is important to reveal, to explain, to tell us what is Dharma. Only for that purpose we need a Buddha. The Buddha was born in a royal family. He was enjoying his life as a young prince. But all the while he was thinking very deeply, because there were many things that he could not understand and he could not satisfy. He discussed with so many other learned people, religious people, but he could not get the correct answer that he can satisfy. So one day, when he was sitting under a tree, he saw a snake suddenly appear and caught the frog. Now the frog is in the mouth, struggling. The frog tried to escape, the snake tried to swallow. When this battle was going on, a big bird come down from the sky and taken away the snake. The frog is still in the mouth. And that incident has become the turning point to change his way of life. He thought, why living beings suffer like this? Every living being that exists in this world, one tried to escape, the other one tried to catch. So one living being depends on another living being. Every living being experiences pain, suffering, fear of death. Then where is the justification? If there is anybody to create these living beings to suffer in this manner. That is what he could not understand. Where is the answer? So, he was thinking up to the age of 29. Started when he was very young. Studied religion, existing religions, under many other teachers. He could not get the answer what he wanted. Finally, he decided, renounce. By developing attachment, craving for worldly pleasures, he won't be able to use his independent mind to understand the truth. That is why he wanted to renounce. Recently, somebody asked this question. Why the Buddha ran away from his home, leaving alone his wife and child? Is it not cruelty? Can we justify? Then I told him, just because of his running away from home, today 555 million people run after him. If he remain at home without running away, only his wife and child run after him, nobody else. Now you can understand why he wanted to run away. For what purpose? It is not running away. He wanted to keep away from worldly bondages. to use his independent mind to understand the truth, to release everybody, not for his own freedom, happiness, salvation, but for the sake of not only for the humanity, every living being. So after struggling for 6 years, according to instructions given by the existing religious teachers, without eating, without sleeping, without lying down, torturing the physical body as the most important religious practices. 6 years he practiced. Finally, he decided this should not be the method. So far, I did not gain any knowledge, any wisdom, any understanding by practicing these religious traditional practices. Then he changed his mind to lead a normal life without torturing, without suffering. After that, he started to meditate under the Bodhi tree. Then he gained that enlightenment, what he wanted. But still many people cannot understand what this enlightenment is. I have explained this on many occasions. In brief, he introduced himself in this way. Abhinyayang abhinyatam. I understood everything that which exists, not within one lifetime. Life after life, he went on developing this understanding. So finally, understood everything. How things appear, why do they appear, why do they decay, why do they disappear, and what happened to them after that? Understood. Then, bhavetabbancha bhavita. I have practiced all the great qualities, virtues, precepts, morals, ethics, everything in this world. Life after life, he went on developing, cultivating his way of life, his knowledge, his understanding and purity. Pahatabbang pahinang me. I have eradicated, uprooted all evil thoughts, evil words, evil actions. Completely purified the mind. These are the three qualities. He understood everything by developing his mind. He practiced all the great qualities, virtues. He eradicated all the evil, wicked things. When the mind is pure, the development of the mind, the knowledge that he gained, turn into enlightenment. After gaining this enlightenment, we introduce him as the Buddha. The Buddha is not his name. His name was Prince Siddhartha Gautama. After gaining this enlightenment, we introduce him as the Buddha. One who gained enlightenment is called the Buddha. Then he wanted to preach. Then he realized people cannot understand anything. Their mind completely deluded, misled, blindfolded with wrong concept, wrong belief, wrong ideas. Their minds are not ready. They cannot grasp, they cannot catch what he is going to tell them. When he surveyed the mentality of the masses, he knew people cannot understand. Later, Brahma came and invited him. At least there may be very few who can understand this dharma. Because he said, Paturahosi magadhesu kubbe dhammo asuddho samale. This dharma that I understood is not a new dharma, new doctrine, new religion, new teaching. This dharma existed, but polluted, misinterpreted by the people. So today they have wrong concept, wrong belief, wrong ideas. Now what is happening today? 2500 years ago, the Dharma taught by the Buddha spread all over the world. And what people are doing today in the name of Buddhism? What do they practice? What do they believe? Entirely different things which the Buddha never taught. That is what he says. Dharma is polluted by using our polluted mind. People are not ready to accept the truth. They want something which can console their mind, their craving. And then they distort the basic teaching and introduce entirely different system as Buddhism. It is happening all over the world. So many new cult, new creed, new sect, new schools you can see in the name of Buddhism everywhere. They have forgotten what the Buddha taught. They taught something else. That is what the Buddha said. The Dhamma that existed in this world misinterpreted. So now he is going to reveal again. And why he wanted to introduce the Dharma? That is the most important point. The belief that people had that to find out our salvation, we must torture our body as religious practices. Starving without taking food. Suffering from sicknesses without taking medicine. Without sleeping. Without relaxing. Burning. Cutting here and there. The more they torture, they believe the more easily they can wash away all the sins or the bad karma committed by them. This belief was very strong at that time. Even today there are. So he wanted to release people from this wrong concept. There is no religious value whatsoever that we can find by torturing our physical body. So he wanted to introduce a religious way of life that we can practice by leading a normal life without suffering. It is not necessary for you to suffer because of your religion. You can lead a normal life by knowing what is right and what is wrong. At the same time, you can maintain your human dignity without becoming slaves to your religion. He mentioned this. The followers of all those religions have become slaves to their gods. Almost every day, going on praying and worshipping and offerings and offering. That is religion today. They have become slaves to religion. The Buddha pointed out. By praying, by worshipping, by performing various offerings, you cannot become religious people unless you develop, purify your knowledge, your understanding. So, people should not behave like small children simply by practicing certain things which they cannot understand. So the Buddha did not encourage anybody to pray, to worship. Even he never expected our salute, our homage. He never asked us to go and worship him. Whether we worship him or not, if we practice what he taught, he take this as respect. When he was about to pass away, lot of VIPs wanted to come and pay respect to him before his passing away, with flowers. Ananda, his disciples, told him Buddha is in a very critical condition. It is not nice to go and disturb him. The Buddha overheard this. Then he asked Ananda, why? What is the problem? He said, there are many who assembled here. They say they want to come and pay respect to you, offering flowers before you passed away. Then what did the Buddha say? Instead of worshipping, instead of offering flowers, ask them to go back and practice at least one of the advices given by me. That is the highest way that they can respect to their master. Now you can understand who the Buddha is, what he wanted. What he wanted us to do, you can understand. So he wanted us to maintain our human dignity without worshipping everywhere, every idol, every trees and every caves and every god, this god, that god. We disgrace our human dignity. Before his passing away, he also gave this advice. Atta deepa bhikkhave viharatha atta sarana ananya sarana. Develop your self-confidence. Don't take refuge in another person. Take refuge in you. That means develop your confidence. If you have confidence, you never go and worship to anybody. Never go and pray to anybody. Because you know, you can understand. You have no courage, you have no knowledge, you have no understanding. Then go and worshipping, praying. They think you are religious because you worship. This is the the parting word of the Buddha. Develop your confidence, your understanding. Then you can understand what to do and what not to do. Then, by performing rites and rituals and ceremonies as religious practices, animal sacrifices to please a god, slaughtering them, burning them, to please their god, to get the blessing. The Buddha condemned these kind of animal sacrifices and rite and rituals, because they thought performance of rite and rituals are the only method for people to find out their salvation and to get rid of their sin or the bad karma committed by them. The Buddha said it is impossible for us to get rid of the bad karmas or sins that we have committed by performing any kind of rites and rituals. Then he has noticed women were not given due place in the society. They were not allowed to enter even a place of worship. Women are dirty, not allowed to learn, to study a religion. There is no another religious teacher in this world who has done that. When the stepmother, Mahapajapati Gautami, approached the Buddha, we ladies also want to join the holy order. First time, the Buddha said no. Second time she came, the Buddha said no. Third time she came, he said no. Then she came again and told, do you know, when you were born, your mother died 7 days after that. I am the one who looked after you and nurtured you. How can you reject? Why not you allow us to enter into the holy order? Then the Buddha said, yes, under certain conditions. She said, yes. Why did the Buddha did like this? Because he knew the difficulty for women to lead that way of religious life at that time in India. Because there was no proper shelter, no monasteries, no building. Most of them spent in the cemeteries, the jungles, the roadside, and here and there. Ladies cannot lead that way of life. That is why he was reluctant to give permission at the beginning. Let them to understand the difficulty of this way of religious life. Finally, he gave full authority, permission for them to enter into the holy order. First time in the human history, women were given that status by the Buddha. Then the other religious groups started to accuse the Buddha for giving such rights for women. They say women are not suitable for that. It is a very big battle he had. Especially Brahmin in India. Even today, there are Christian church are still not ready to accept women to give full ordination. They say women are not capable enough. Can you imagine? what the Buddha has done 2,500 years ago. Still they are not ready to give full authority to women. Now you can understand why Buddhism. Why Buddha wanted to introduce a new religion, use the word religion. Another thing. Caste systems in India is horrible. We cannot imagine here because we have never seen. What sort of discrimination they have towards the low caste people. They have divided the humanity into 4 groups according to their caste system. Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra. 4. Kshatriya, the rulers, warriors. The Buddha was born in that family. Sakya clan. They are the rulers, Rajas, Maharajas, rulers of the country. 1 caste. Brahmins, the highest. They are the masters, teachers, gurus, and for everything. And priests. Everything, education, religion, handled by them, Brahmin. Others cannot. Vaishya, the business people who deal with business, all sort of trade and development of the country, another caste. Shudra, lowest caste, to scavengers, to clean the lavatories, drains and dirts. That is their duty. They were not allowed to take even a bucket of water from a well which is in a high caste Brahmin's family. Not allowed. They cannot touch. If anything touched by so-called low caste people, they never accept it. That's why I told you we cannot imagine. Buddha was watching this very carefully. One day when he was going somewhere, he met a scavenger who was carrying all the dirt that he had collected from lavatories. When he saw the Buddha was coming, he wanted to keep away from the Buddha because dirty, smelly. So purposely Buddha went to him. Then asked, what are you doing? Where are you going? What is your job? He explained everything. I belong to low caste. This is my job, dirty jobs, what to do. You were born to do this and that. Then the Buddha, do you like to follow me? How can I follow you? I belong to low caste. It doesn't matter. Then he agreed, followed, cleaned him, washed, ordained him as a monk. Then he allowed the kings and the ministers to come and pay respect to him. Because they do not know who this person is. His idea was to wipe out this caste discrimination created by them. This is another big blow to other existing religions. Because they upheld these 2 things. Without giving a place to women, without giving a place to low caste people in religion. In the religious field, they have no place. So the Buddha was the first religious teacher again in this world who wanted to give equal human rights. So many other religious groups have become enemies. That is why from time to time they have destroyed Buddhism in India. When Brahmins come into power, They wanted to topple, destroy Buddhism, because Buddhism goes against their traditional belief and practices. Later, very highly intellectuals, well-educated people learned to appreciate the Buddha's attitude. Now, when we take Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, what they have written in their book, Mahatma Gandhi has written in his book, My Religion, the title of the book. He said, actually, we Hindus are indebted to Buddhism. Why? All the important noble teachings they have incorporated into Hinduism later. Hinduism became a very rich religion after taking the basic teachings of the Buddha. They knew this very well. Pandit Nehru, Prime Minister, in his book, Discovery of India, he said, I really cannot understand what sort of courage and knowledge he had to discard the existing religious traditions and beliefs that people maintained for thousands of years in this country. But Buddha discarded all of them. Because he pointed out no religious value in those practices. They know how to appreciate. Then he says, because some people say Buddhism is a branch of Hinduism. Mr. Nehru says very clearly, Buddhism is Buddhism. Hinduism is Hinduism. Jainism is Jainism. Hinduism is not Buddhism. Buddhism is not Hinduism. When you read his book, Discovery of India, what the Prime Minister of India has written, because they can understand. And another learned man who has written 3 volumes of Indian philosophy, Professor Mukherjee in Calcutta. He says, he was a Hindu. Hinduism is nowhere if they have not taken the basic teachings of the Buddha into Hinduism. Today Hinduism stands as a very rich philosophy because of the Buddha's teaching. They have borrowed, incorporated. This is another reason why Buddhism disappeared from India. Because after fighting for a long period, they knew they cannot destroy Buddhism. What they did, they introduced Buddha as one of the incarnations of their God. God has taken 9 incarnations according to them from time to time. So the 9th one was the Buddha according to them. But Buddhists do not agree with them. That is why every Hindu respects the Buddha. They say Buddha is the incarnations of our God. So every Hindu respects the Buddha because of that. But by introducing in this way, the name of Buddhism slowly faded away and Hinduism remained. But Buddhism started to spread in many other parts of the world. Emperor Ashoka has sent missionaries, even Egypt and Syria and Greece, more than 200 times he has sent missionaries to those countries. Buddhism was flourishing at that time. That is 200 years after the Buddha started to develop. then to this part of the world. In India, Jainism, Hinduism, Brahmanism, they accepted these as their culture, as their tradition, as their way of life, deeply rooted into their mind. Therefore, many of them are not ready to accept the Dharma, the truth revealed by the Buddha. Now let us take certain other countries where Buddhism exists today. China. When Buddhism was introduced to China, without any difficulty, they accepted. Another important point. Why Chinese have accepted only Buddhism from India? Brahmanism, Hinduism, Jainism, these religions were very active at that time. But Chinese have not chosen any other religion but only Buddhism. Do you know the reason? Why? Outsiders cannot practice Brahmanism, Hinduism or Jainism without following Indian way of life. But the Buddha introduced Buddhism as a universal religion. Any human being in any part of the world can practice this religion. Therefore, Chinese knew it is not necessary for Chinese to become Indians to practice Buddhism. If they want to accept Jainism or Hinduism, then they have to become Indians. This is the nature of the Buddha's teaching, because he has revealed only the existing truth. Truth is common to whole mankind, not only to Indians, to any other part of the world. Now, what is happening in the West today? Go and see. Anyone can buy a church in the West. Go to Australia, go to New Zealand, go to America, go to England, go to France. Anyone can buy a church available for sale. People don't want to go and pray. 20 years ago, a bishop in London wanted to give a public talk. The topic was Christianity is in danger. He said, in our Bible, there are so many dogmas, superstitious ideas. Today people are educated. Scientific education opens their mind. People are not ready to accept these things. Unless we remove these things from our holy book, there will be no future for our religion in this part of the world. What he has said happening today. What happened to Buddhism? In Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Tibet and Mongolia, what happened to Buddhism? If they really practiced the teachings of the Buddha, no one can destroy Buddhism. In the name of Buddhism, they concentrated, introduced, practiced more rites and rituals and ceremonies which have become burden to poor people. So, religion or Buddhism has become a burden. Then political upheaval, communism, easily have done the brainwashing to throw away this kind of religion. This religion cannot contribute anything for your development. People accept it. The way how they practice Buddhism, as introduced by the Buddha, we should not depend on those practices to practice Buddhism. He wanted us to do only two things: to do good, to be good. Only these two things. You can spend millions of dollars to perform religious rites and rituals or for burning and doing all sorts of things. Do you think you can become religious? Without spending single cent, you can become first-class Buddhist. If you develop your mind to reduce your anger, reduce your jealousy, reduce your stinginess, reduce your selfishness, first-class Buddhist. No need to spend single cent. But people don't know what to do what the Buddha taught. They introduce so many practices in the name of religion, in the name of Buddhism. Now, Buddhism is a mixture of so many things. Every group, every sect, every school try to glorify that their method, their system, their school is higher than others. Competition. But no one wants to practice the Dharma taught by the Buddha. So, these are the few factors why the Buddha wanted to introduce another religious way of life, having seen what people believe, what people practice, how they suffer, how they have become slaves to religion, to release them from all these problems and slavery and bondages, to maintain human dignity. Then, to find out salvation. One group says, you must pray to God, or He can save you. Another group says, you must perform these rites and rituals and ceremonies, wash away all your sins, then you can find out your salvation. Another group says, you must sacrifice all these animals and burns and cut. Through these sacrifices, you can purify all your sin. Now you can understand where the Buddha stands. He wanted to discard all these beliefs and practices. Then he said, Tummehi kiccang atappang akkhataro tathagata. You cannot find out your salvation by worshipping and praying to the Buddha or any god, by depending on any god or any religious teachers. Never. Then what you have to do? He said, the Buddhas can tell you what to do. It is your duty to do that. The Buddha cannot do that for you. The God cannot do that for you. The method is given by the Buddha what to do. But we are lazy to do, but we like to go and pray and worship. Very easy. Anyone can do that. This is the Buddhist attitude. But we like to worship Him because we know who this religious teacher is, what he has contributed, what he has done. In appreciation of his contribution, we like to worship him, although he never expected that. Because we feel very happy when we respect him. But simply by worshipping anybody, no one can find out salvation. Another thing. No one can wash away, take away the sins committed by us. The Buddha cannot take away, the God cannot take away, nobody else can take away our sins. Suddhi asuddhi pacchatang nanya manya visode. Sayings of the Buddha. Purity and impurity of the mind maintained by individual person. Another person cannot do that. Sins or bad karmas committed by the mind. So by torturing body, we cannot wash away the sins because the body is not the one committed all these things. The mind. Then the Buddha says, if you want to punish the sins committed by you, you had to punish your mind, not the body. Take for instance, somebody come and shoot and kill a person and drop the gun here, run away. And his relatives and friends come and see the gun. Oh, this is the gun which killed our so and so, and they break. They smash the gun, punish the gun. So punishing the body for committing bad karma is exactly like that. The gun is not the culprit. The Buddha said you have to punish the mind. Then how to punish it? Oh, very easy. When you are selfish, don't allow that selfishness to develop. Reduce. Punishment. When you are jealous, don't allow that jealousy to develop. Suppress. Punishment for the mind. When you are angry, don't allow that anger to flare up. Control that anger. Punishment for your mind. When you are greedy, don't allow that greed. Be generous. Punishment for the mind. See whether practical or not. This is the Buddha's technique. So, by worshipping to a God, worshipping to a Buddha, worshipping to a Bodhisattva, you cannot wash away your sin. Then, what is the technique? What is the method introduced by the Buddha? If there is nobody in this world who can wash away our sin, then what will happen to us? All the other religions say their God can take away their sins, after that they will be in heaven. Then what will happen to us? No hope, isn't it? You have to learn what the Buddha taught. Whether practical or not. He said, every human being make mistake. Due to their ignorance or misunderstanding or greed or anger, make mistake. It's natural. But one day, when you come to know that you have done certain bad things or mistakes or bad karma, through that understanding, you must have courage to stop, not to repeat. That is the first step. Instead of worshipping to another person, what you have to do? Stop repeating. Right. That is not enough. Now the second step. From that day onward, you have to do more and more good karma, good deeds. Good deed means do some service to others to release their suffering. Those who are hungry, those who are sick, those who are old, those who need your service, do something for them. These are very good karma. So by doing more and more and more good karmas, then you are developing and developing and developing and improving. Not enough. One more thing. Still your mind is not very healthy, very pure. Try to reduce your anger, your jealousy, your selfishness. Try to reduce. Then all these, the facilities that you have provided, prepared, will be able to overcome the bad effect of the karma that you have done earlier. See whether it's practical or not. Is the practicable method introduced by the Buddha? To overcome means not to wash away. No one can wash away. Remain. But you don't allow this bad karma to come and affect you. Because you have developed more and more good karmas. Then you go further and further and further, doing more and more good karma. Then the bad karmas have no chance to come and catch you. And one day you will attain your final salvation. Then the bad karma withdraw. Cannot catch. Not by worshipping, praying, offering to any god, but by stopping bad thing, doing more good thing, maintaining healthy mind. This is the method taught by the Buddha. Then, Buddhism is a liberal religion. Very liberal. You cannot find any commandment or religious laws in Buddhism. No one can create religious laws. The duty of religion is to tell people, these are the things that you have to do, these are the things that you should not do. Then the Buddha has pointed out both. Then he said, I am telling you according to my own experience, not as a message given to me by anybody. I can understand how I suffered during so many previous births due to certain bad deeds that I have committed. This is my experience. I can understand how I really enjoyed my life. Peace, happiness, satisfaction, contentment in my life because of the good deeds that I have done. This is my experience. So I am also telling you, you also can practice and see the result. This is not a message given to me by somebody, my own experience. First, he practiced, after that tell others his experience, good and bad both. This is the way how he introduced religion. He has never said that the Buddha will punish anybody or condemn to hell. Another person cannot do that. Another person cannot send us to heaven. The Buddha cannot send you to heaven. The Buddha cannot send you to heaven. He has no authority. God has no right to send us to heaven or hell. After all, where is heaven? Where is hell? According to the Buddha. Hells and heavens are not separate places located somewhere. All the others believe heaven is above, hell is below. Under this earth. Alright? Today, modern scientific facilities, equipment, instruments are available. You can go on drilling and drilling and drilling up to the bottom, whether you can see the hell. You will be landed in another country, not in hell. Very clearly Buddha said, only foolish people believe that hell is under this earth. It is not a place, a separate place called hell, where there are sufferings in any form, any world system, not only in this world. That suffering state is called hell. life from birth up to death, nothing but suffering. That is hell. Remember this. At the same time, we bring certain object through our five senses into the mind, very soothing, very pleasing, very pleasant, very convenient and very hopeful. We can develop our full confidence. Then he says they are in heaven. How they take things through the senses, how the mind entertains them. On the other hand, how they bring things, how they torture the mind, and how the mind suffers in hell. So to the Buddha, hell and heavens are not a separate ready-made place created by God or created by the Buddha. Anywhere in any part of the universe where living beings enjoy their life, that is heaven. Where living beings suffer their life, that is hell. Not only this, there are many other places, millions of other places where living beings exist. See, still people have not understood what the Buddha taught. So the Buddhist approach, the Buddha's way of presentation of religion is entirely different. When you compare with all the other existing religions, of course when you come to morals and ethics and duties and responsibilities, very common, every religion. But when we go further and further, you can see what are the differences. What they believe and what we believe. Actually, when we say we believe also, I don't think we are correct. We have very funny kind of belief. What the Buddha taught as religious way of life. Yes, I think I must give more time for you to ask. It's a very, very critical approach to religion. Because people never think that Buddhism is like this. Why Buddhism spreading in the West today? No missionaries, no hospitals, no orphanages, no old folks home, no preachers, but more and more people accept Buddhism, can agree with their scientific knowledge and understanding. Yes. Very challenging questions. Coming Tuesday, our topic was, what do we gain by practicing Buddhism? Then you can understand what you gain. In last night. Yes?
Questions and answers.
Yes?
Okay, brothers and sisters in the Dharma, are there any questions from the hall? You have,
Not from the whole, from your mind.
Any questions? Yes, brother.
Yes. Yeah.
I would like to ask, is it when the Buddha taught Buddhism, it is such a big relation, such a big teaching. Why is it that after that, subsequently, the other religion was introduced, another religion, after Buddha taught?
In India or other part of the world? No, we have to confine only to India. Because different countries, they have introduced different kind of religion according to their convenience, their needs, their problems. When religion exists in one particular country, they introduce that religion according to their way of life, their problems, their difficulties. But at that time in India, they have entirely different type of religious way of life. So, when the Buddha introduced the Dharma, I told you just now, people could not understand. Their minds were clouded, deluded. So how can they accept the truth? So it has taken such a long period for nearly more than 200 years, up to Emperor Asoka, then spread all over the country, then sent to the other part of the world. Where they had more than enough time to think, to study, to understand. At once, people could not understand anything. I can tell you a small incident. When the Buddha was going somewhere, he met a Brahmin, the Hindu priest. He has never seen such serene figure. Very soothing. And he asked, actually, what is your religion? What do you preach? Where are you going? Then the Buddha, in brief, he explained, I understood why things come into existence, why they change, why they decay, why they disappear, and after that, what will happen? These are the things that people cannot understand. This is my way of religious life, to preach others. Do you know how this Brahmin acknowledged? Yes. Can you imagine? Because that never appealed to his mind. His belief, concept, ideas are entirely different. Others also had the same problem. To understand the truth take hell of a time. Not so easy to understand the truth. So, it is very easy to introduce religious way of life according to your way of life. To console you, to satisfy you, to allowing you to do whatever you like. Then people like that kind of religion. Now today people don't like religions. Why? Religion says not to do what they like to do. Therefore they don't like religion. Religion also tells them to do certain things which they don't like to do. So they want to keep away from religion. Therefore some religious group try to find out ways and means to give them something what they like, then they accept that religion. Truth is somewhere else. They don't own the truth. Yeah.
I think that a lot of religions also generally man understands that animals are the real form or real being.
There are two ways to answer this question. Buddhist concept and the other religions. Buddhism regard all the other living beings are unfortunate. Why? Their understanding capacity, their intelligence are very poor, very lesser degree. They may experience pleasure, worldly pleasure. Let us take animals. Animals do not know anything about their life. Animals do not know how to prepare for the next existence. That animal life is not the end of the life. Only human beings can do that. Human beings can understand this is not the first and the last. By realizing this, they prepare for the next existence not to suffer. Other living beings have no such ideas. Therefore, they are lower forms of animal who do not know what to do. They do not know anything about their life. But humans can understand this very well. But other religions treat animals in different ways. You see, God created them for us to do anything whatever we like. We can slaughter them, we can kill them, we can eat them, we can do anything whatever we like. God created them for us to do anything. But Buddhism never agree with that.
I
This is more an observation rather than a question. Although Buddhism started in India, but today the percentage of Buddhists in India itself is very small. And that Buddhism around the world is also very small, although it's popular, not as popular as Christianity or Islam, I should say. The conquerors of the other countries brought religion in the way of their missionaries, and Islamic empire spread, the whole world spread with Islam. And how come Buddhism is always on the lower end, or rather not as popular as the other religion? In a way, is it that we do not carry out our propaganda more than them? Thank you.
Yes. Propaganda is a very dangerous job, We should not do propaganda work, You say Buddhists are very, very few, others are so many. How many gems and how many diamonds when you compare with ordinary stones in this world? Why so little? Diamonds and Dandha Bahu. This is the word used by the Buddha. Dandha Bahu. Dandha means ignorant people. Bahu means many. Many people are ignorant. Few people can understand the truth. Understand? And your second part of your question, not the propaganda, the introduce. Use the word introduce. Actually, we are very weak in that respect. One day when I give a talk to a Muslim, Christian, Hindu group, I told them, we Buddhists never organize any campaign to convert people as missionary activities, because we never think the followers of other religions are sinners. We never think the followers of other religions go to hell. Therefore, it is not necessary for us to convert them into our religion. Let them remain. If they practice their religion properly, that is enough for us. It's not clear. Can you come closer? Tell me what it is actually. Can you come closer? What is it?
Last week, asked about the abortion issue of abortion.
Yes.
Scanning shows that the child is retarded.
Yeah.
Is it really bad karma to abort the baby?
No, I see. Oh, that's right. Actually, to clarify this, we had to explain what is karma, how we create karma. Not knowing what karma is not so easy to understand. Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. The way how the Buddha has introduced how we create karma. It is not the action, the intention, chetana. First, we create the idea. After that, the idea turn into thoughts. Thoughts working just like waves in the mind. After working, then we decide to do something. That is called chetana. See the difference now? Now, you want to kill a rat. Right, idea appear in your mind. Then go on thinking how to kill. Going on thinking. Then one day, I know, I'll kill like this, decided. Then you created that one with the action. Without action, you cannot do that thinking alone. Both must combine together. In that intention, there are different degrees. The jealousy, grudge. When we reduce all these things, we do some certain bad thing without creating evil thought in the mind, due to certain circumstances, even reluctantly. No other choice. We had to do that. And then we reduce and reduce and reduce because we have not polluted the mind to do that. Understand? So we kill an animal or snake to protect others, to save others, but we have not developed any evil thoughts in our mind. Idea is to protect others. So we have not developed our karma because of that intention. If we create anger in our mind, we must kill this fellow, then increase. So this abortion also, due to certain circumstances, no other choice, they had to do that. There may be certain bad effect. Taking that, nothing to be bothered about it.
You just mentioned something that I like to share. That is, if you're sleeping, and for those past 2,000 years, you give away for half a night, then your heart says, I would like to get rid of this mosquito. Then we can wake up and make you one act, then you got rid of it, and then that's it. Because your intention is that kill does mean that the karma is going to live back.
So what is your question? Only intention or question? Not clear. What is it?
The intention of killing the mosquito is that
Mosquito, yeah.
you feel happy that you're dropping the mosquito so that you get suppressed.
Oh, if you feel happy, you increase. You understand? If you regret, you don't increase it. Another point, because of your question. Lifespan. We kill a mosquito. We kill an elephant. Do you think there will be different degrees of karma? What is your opinion? Why? Lifespan. When you kill a living beings can live long period, you increase the karma. When you kill a living being which live only 1 or 2 weeks, not so high lifespan. Another aspect. You kill a gangster who endanger the whole area, and you kill a holy man. Do you think they will increase or reduce? Yes. By killing this gangster, no doubt you have created certain bad karma, but you allow others to live peacefully. Your intention is good. Action is bad. Killing is bad. And you kill a holy man, religious man who serves thousands of others. Useful person, virtuous person, then you increase so many degrees of your karma because you have created that action to destroy a valuable life. Valuable life and dangerous life. Two aspects. Again, just now I mentioned, we kill with anger. We kill without anger. Different degrees. By creating anger, we pollute the mind. We create that without anger. We do not create the pollution, but action alone. Reduce. Very systematically, Buddhism explains all this thing. Not only mere action depend on our mental attitudes. The purpose, the reasons, and why, and how, and all these things we have to consider. Yes? Anything else? So how many mosquitoes did you kill so far? About? World. Why do you want to know about the world? Yeah. All right, then who created God? Then you know. You know who created the God. Yeah. So,
You said that you will say that the Big Bang or Big Bang.
Big Bang.
And that's what I want.
Hmm.
And life existed.
Yeah.
And after that, it was given. Life is soul. Or life is soul. And soul has three dimensions. Right?
Hmm.
When any dimension, the population of the universe are this. How the soul exists is one question. I think the person has two questions. Then is the one question. Just one more another question. That is the rule. You said you can travel one field.
Here. Oh, yes. Creation theory. Even the Pope had to say recently, the human beings were not created by God, but they come into existence due to evolution. The paper cutting is there outside. Pope has said. Then where is the creation? God says, Bible says, God created man in the image of God. Then where is that image? That is why I told, we cannot play the fool with science. One day, religious people had to surrender certain belief concept they have maintained due to their imagination. The Buddha did not accept any of those imagination. That is why intellectuals all over the world respect the Buddha. Last week I mentioned Bertrand Russell, one of the best philosophers in the West. He is an agnostic who had no religion, who condemned all this religion. He says he respects the Buddha because he is the only one who has never said that this world was created by so and such time. But all the other religious teachers made false statement. He used this word, false statement. Therefore, I respect the Buddha because he knew what this world is. This is the way how intellectuals accept what the Buddha said. Again, the advice given by the Buddha, don't waste your time by thinking who created this world, where is the beginning of this world, and where is the end, when is the end of this world. Without wasting your time, you try to look after yourself. This is the advice given by the Buddha. Because you never get the answer to those questions. Never. You may spend the whole life, but you never get the answer because there is no answer to those questions. Anything else? Yes.
I come from Buddhism.
Yes. There is no such thing as Buddhist family. Buddhism is not in the family. Buddhism is in the mind. So, okay, go ahead.
Let's say later on I die. Does it mean that my dad's existed?
Become a Muslim. Become a Muslim. Become a Muslim or Christian. Then what will happen to you? Very good. Very good. It's very easy to understand. Do you know the Buddha? During his so many previous births, do you think he was born in Buddhist families? Where was Buddhism at that time? That is the answer. It is not the religious label. It is not the religious family. It is an individual mental attitude. We have seen so many Muslims, so many Christians, so many Hindus, so many others who made excellent ideas about life, sometimes better than Buddhists. Buddhists not yet study yet properly. They have very good understanding. I met so many Muslims also. That is their personal understanding. Don't depend on family. If happen to be born in a Muslim family or Christian family, still you can carry on your religious way of life without accepting belief and traditions and customs and their way of life. That is your personal thing. Religion is a personal thing. We cannot get religion from another person. We cannot give religion to another person. Personal thing. So don't worry about it. Nothing will happen to you. Okay. Oh, coming to 10 o'clock.